It's Wednesday in the Arena with Dr. Pamela, and I'm Dr. Pamela. Welcome to my private arena. If you are watching, I am certain that you are a passionate horsewoman, a heart-centered horse owner, and or a holistic bodywork practitioner. And more importantly, you are all horse lovers like me. And today I want to talk to you about what's in the horse headlines right now. Who hasn't seen this, right? It's like right before the Paris Olympics, and somebody went and decided to leak a video of three-time Olympic champion. I know she has multiple medals, but I know she's been to three Olympics. Charlotte Dujardin. I apologize, Charlotte, if I am not pronouncing your name correctly. But nonetheless, this is a big thing. And I first saw this yesterday and I was kind of like, ooh, this is crazy pants. But I was just waiting for the video to come out. I'm like, I want to see this video of what they're talking about of this horse abuse. And the video came out. I saw it this morning, and I have to be honest, my first reaction was like, oh, that's it? Because that shit happens all the time. Like, I'm not saying it's okay, but I'm like, that happens all the time. Um, yeah, like here's the thing is like, her statement, Charlotte's statement was around her momentary error of judgment. And it's like, if she did this once, she's done it before, right? And it just happened to get on camera. And I want to tell you, like, I am not saying what she was doing was okay, but I feel like what bothered me the most about it was whoever was videoing it, you could hear them laughing in the background. And I was like, this isn't funny. And they're laughing at this horse violently kicking out at this lunge whip as he's being repeatedly smacked in the hind end with it. And the people are laughing. And I got to say, kudos to the rider for riding through that. This horse was huge warm blood. Kicking out, bucking, and this rider was amazingly riding through it and staying in the saddle. And I'm like, but that doesn't even look like fun. That doesn't even look like fun to ride like that. And, it's like, I'm glad this has come out, but this is not an isolated incident. There's been several other people who have been banned from riding at the Olympics, from my understanding. And it's not just in the dressage world, right? We saw it at the last Olympics in Tokyo. There was that rider that was beating the horse in that weird, I should have looked it up before I got on. I forgot the name of it, but that weird event where they had to show him these different things, and it wasn't even her horse, and she's like beating the thing, and he's like mouth gaping, head straight up in the air, and doesn't want to go over the jump. And it's like, it's I have a ton of clients that come to me with off the track thoroughbreds that have all kinds of issues. My background is predominantly in the Arabian horse industry, and I love my Arabs. Love, love, love the Arabian breed. Some of the best horses I've ever had have been Arabs. Some of the best horses I've ever had relationship and connection with have been purebred Arabians. But it's one of the reasons I quit showing is because what I was seeing behind closed doors in the Arabian world was like, this is not my jam. This is not my jam. Hi, Paula. Thank you for chiming in. Yes, all disciplines have sadness and abuse. And, you know, it's like some of the worst stuff I think I've seen has been in the quarter horse world, but it's not just limited, right? It's like, this is what happens because people want to win, and everything now in this world is about extremes and bigger and better and more and trotting bigger. I think some of the worst stuff I saw in the Arabian world was with the halter horses. They smacked those horses all the time with the whip to get them to stand up. And the sad thing to me, what happens is like the Scottsdale Arabian show every February in Scottsdale, Arizona is one of the biggest Arabian horse shows in the world. People come from all over, and there's a lot of spectators, and there's a lot of non horse spectators. People from the community come, there's a lot of snowbirds that come down, and they see this stuff from the grandstands, right? And they're beautiful. They come trotting in and they're snorting and their tail is up over their backs, and they make them stand up and they stand still, and it's like the spectators are like, this is beautiful, I want to do this, I want one of these. And they go and they buy a horse, and they've never owned a horse before, and they have them in training with a trainer, and they're like, this is just the way it's done. And if you listen to the interview with the attorney who was the whistleblower of this video, he talked about the big question was, is this just now coming out? This is not a coincidence that this is right before the Olympics. This video was from 4 years ago. Some people say 2 years ago. I believe the interview with the attorney said something like a little over 2 or 2.5 years ago. But nonetheless, I mean, this was a young girl riding with a flippin' Olympian. She just thought it was normal. And I get that. Back when I was in my 20s and I was working in these show barns, I thought it was just normal that show horses had to live in stalls and never get to go in turnouts. I thought it was normal for horses to colic all the time because, that's just what happens, I guess, when you're in Arizona in a show barn. Like everything was normalized, right? And we're always afraid to speak up outside of the status quo. So I'm glad this has come out. I'm glad that people are speaking up about the status quo. But I want to know, what is our long-term solutions here? Like, this is just a slap on the hands for these people because they gave her 6 months while there's an investigation. I believe she stepped down on her own before the Olympics. I mean, it's sad. I'm sure she's worked very hard to get there. But my father used to say, we all have choices and we all suffer the consequences, good and bad. But what I have seen, so in the Arabian world, this happened a while back, but there was a halter trainer who was very popular and won a lot, and I think a lot of it is politics, but he got busted for doing surgery on horses on wry tails because wry tails are not a desirable trait in the Arabian breed. He had horses that had whites in their eye be tattooed because the whites in the eye is not a desirable trait, and he got busted for basically doing cosmetic surgery on these halter horses that won, right? And if they hadn't had the surgery, they wouldn't have won. And they banned him from stepping foot on the showgrounds for 5 years. But you know what? That didn't stop this guy from running a business. That didn't stop people from putting horses in training at his barn. He still ran his training business. He just hired somebody to take the horses to the show and show them. And do you know, 5 years that man didn't step foot on the showgrounds. And when his 5 years was up, bam, back in the show ring, and they were letting him win. Nobody cared at the end of the day, because it's a very ego-based industry that is, about winning. And there's nothing wrong with winning, okay? But it reminds me of these things is why I quit training and why I quit showing. And it's sad because, a lot of times this isn't just on the trainers, folks. There are two sides to every story. And these trainers are making a living. Their overhead is huge. And the customers are putting pressure on the trainers. I want this horse in the futurity. I want to go to this show. I want to do this and I want to do that. And if you don't get it done, I'm going to pull my horse. Some people have more than one horse in training. I've known people that have 6 or 10 horses in training with one trainer. And if you don't get the job done, I will pull my horses and go to another trainer that will do whatever it takes. So there are two sides of this story. I'm being a little bit of the devil's advocate, but I by no means am the advocate for a lot of this stuff, which is why I quit training and showing many moons ago because of what I saw. I was like, this is not for the highest good of the horse. And so my big thing is, what is the long-term solution? Slapping somebody on the wrist and saying you have to sit out for 6 months or even 5 years wasn't a big enough deal to stop, what this Arab halter trainer was doing. So today I want to share with you 3 things that you can do right now to reduce animal abuse. Because here's the thing is, like, we need to start within ourselves, and we need to set an example for the other people in the barns or the shows or whatever that is. It starts within ourselves, right? Isn't that a Gandhi saying? If you want to see a change, the change starts within, right? So what can we do to set an example and start participating in reducing the abuse in the horse industry? And the first thing on my list is to be proactive. Okay, your trainer, your vet, asking random questions on Facebook and getting 500 comments of people's opinions. They don't know everything, and more importantly, they don't know your horse. I always tell my clients, you know your horse better than me, better than your vet, better than anybody else. And start listening to your horse. What is your horse telling you? Is your horse telling you that he's happy with this trainer? He's happy in this lesson program. He's happy being ridden in this discipline. He's happy in his living conditions. What is your horse telling you? Start being more proactive in your horse's life and stop listening to everybody else and all those external voices, and start listening to your horse and within. That is my number one thing that you can do right now. Number 2 is to stop supporting things in the horse industry that don't resonate with you. Like I said, I stopped training because excuse me, at the time I was heavily involved in the show world, and I didn't know how to make a living training horses that didn't go to the shows, because that's just what I did. So I stopped training. And then I still had my own horses, but I stopped showing. I stopped supporting the Arabian horse show industry because it no longer resonated with me. I knew it wasn't for the highest good of my horses. I wasn't willing to do what it took with my horses to win. And I hate to say it, folks, I'm a little bit competitive. And why do I want to go spend thousands and thousands of dollars to go to a horse show and stay up till midnight to wait to school my horse in the indoor arena and get up at 4 a.m. to school and bathe and be, ready to show by 7 a.m. and spend all that money when I'm not going to win? I don't do it for the fun of it. It's not totally fun to be sleep deprived, showing in the wind and the rain and the heat and the sun if you don't want to win, right? That's why people do it. I know there's some more relaxed and laid back shows that you could go to and you can have fun. And don't get me wrong, if you enjoy showing and you don't mind doing all that stuff, that's fine. But I'm just saying, for me, that wasn't resonating with me anymore. So I quit showing. I quit taking lessons at the dressage barn that was chastising me for riding without a cavesson. My horse hates the cavesson. He hated the flash nose band even more. And I wasn't allowed to ride unless I was riding proper dressage. And I was like, yeah, no, this isn't working. And I was proactive enough to know that there are other ways to train horses and you don't have to tie their mouths shut. I was at a dressage barn one time in Arizona where I was watching the groom tack the horse up for a clinic, and they actually put a big thing of padding under the chin, between the horse's chin and the cavesson, because the cavesson, they tightened it so tight it was leaving an indentation into the horse's chin. And I'm like, my horse can't yawn and chew and lick and release if their mouth is tied shut. So I quit riding at that barn. Simple as that. It didn't resonate with me. It didn't feel good. It was not for the highest good of my horse. So I stopped. Okay? So, number 2, stop supporting things in the horse industry that don't resonate with you and your horse. And number 3, I will never forget. Remember when Oprah used to have her Oprah Winfrey show, like way before she had her own channel and all that stuff, and way before YouTube and the internet, way back in the day when Oprah still had her talk show. I remember she did a show on abuse. And obviously it wasn't with horses or animals, but nonetheless she did it on abuse. And she started off saying how abuse doesn't always come in blood and bruises, okay? And that so always is stuck with me when we talk about horses, because this is the first thing we think of with abuse, right? Is the excess whipping, the spurring, the bloody mouths. You know, that's what we think of right away when it comes to abuse. But I'm here to tell you, abuse comes in many shapes and sizes, okay? And from my world, in the holistic health, preventative health world, and I get a lot of broken horses that come to me, folks. And I'm telling you right now that over vaccinating, um, using tons of chemical wormers and destroying your horse's gut and liver and kidney function, spraying tons of chemicals. I've seen horses have neurological conditions as a result of fly spray systems, and the horses have had to be put down from that. I'm here to tell you that abuse isn't always blood and bruises. You can be abusing your horse with chemicals, okay? So number 3 is, please stop over vaccinating. Stop using unnecessary chemicals in your barn and with your horses. And as always, I like to give a bonus. And my bonus is discover a new path with purpose for you and your horse. That's beyond horse training, okay? That's why I do what I do. I have a equine wisdom and wellness coaching business because of all these horses that are being broken on the racetracks and in the show rings. And these people that love their horses so much come to me as a last result, and I'm tired of it being a last result. I want people to discover a new path and a new way of doing horses. And I'm not saying, again, that it has to be the extreme. I see, there's this huge movement around consensual horsemanship where people don't ride at all. There's the movement around relationship-based horsemanship. There's a lot of people that are resonating with, liberty now and building that kind of connection. There's lots of things you can do, but you can also really discover a new path and connect your horse on their healing journey, and do that healing journey with them before they're broken, right? And get help and get support with that. If not with me, find somebody else that can guide you on this journey with your horse, and start with your own in your own backyard, right? That's how we reduce it. We're proactive. We listen to our horses. We stop supporting things in the horse industry that doesn't resonate with us and that isn't for the highest good of the horse. And stop over chemically, killing them. Basically, we're killing them. And I see it all the time. Like the last time I was at this barn I told you I quit riding at, I was just chit-chatting with one of the ladies. Oh, how's your horse doing? Oh, well, she was just injected, so we'll see how she is today because she's been really sore. And, we had to inject her SI joint because we can't inject her hocks anymore because they're starting to fuse. And I was like, oh my. I'm like, well, how old is she now? Because in my mind, I'm like, is she like, 20 something? And she's like, oh, well, she is 10 now. And I was like, only 10. It was so sad to me. So sad that this mare was only 10. Her hocks were fusing. They've injected everything. And I asked, well, have you tried any joint supplements? I don't know. I just do whatever the trainer tells me to do. And I'm like, and you have a 10-year-old that at some point the injections aren't going to work anymore. I have 3 horses in my backyard that are in their 20s that have never been injected, and they don't need injections, and they never will be injected. So there's so much more we can be doing, and it starts with us. It starts with our own horses, and it starts with people like me speaking up and putting myself out there and offering my help and support so that people like you who love your horses as much as I do can discover a new path with purpose like I've done. And it is a process. And don't get me wrong, I still like to ride. I still enjoy watching the Olympics on television. But I've had to go beyond horse training and I've had to go beyond bodywork techniques to discover this new path so that I can have this deep, meaningful connection, not just with my own horses, but with my client horses too, and teach my clients to have the same so that we can enjoy these animals without ribbons and trophies and all of these accolades, right? So there you have it, folks. Those are my 3 things that we can do right now to start reducing horse abuse. And until next time, enjoy your horse.